Hello and welcome to Matchday Live for Leicester's second home game of this new season. Today's visitors to King Power Stadium are Southampton, and it's a Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff, which we didn't have very many of last season. This fixture, of course, was played just a couple of months ago on the final day of last season. So let's get today's team news with our commentator, Niall McCorn.
Thank you, Dan. Good afternoon, everyone. The team news is that Brendan Rodgers has made two changes from last week's defeat to Arsenal. Out go Wesley Fofana and Yuri Tielemans. In come Harvey Barnes, who's fit again, and Iose Perez, who seems to have a habit of scoring against Southampton. Here's the team in full then. Danny Ward in goal, Cassagna, Evans, Amate and Justin across the back line. Dewsbury Hall and Didi and Maddison in midfield, with Barnes and Perez either side of Jamie Vardy, who has just signed a new deal at Leicester City to keep him here at King Power Stadium until 2024. Your substitutes: Soyuncu, Tielemans, Albrighton, Iheanacho, Daka, Mendy, Pratt, Everson and Thomas. As for the visitors, Southampton, they've made three changes from their 2-2 draw at home to Leeds last week. They were 2 goals behind in that game and came back to draw it. A big influence off the bench was Sekou Mara, and so too Joe Aribo. Both of those players handed starts today by Ralph Hasenhüttl. Adam Armstrong comes into the side as well. Bednarik, Stuart Armstrong and Adams the players to make way. So in full then, the Southampton lineup: Bazunu in net, Djenepo, Salisu, Bella Kotchap and Kyle Walker-Peters. Ward-Prowse, Aribo, Lavia, El Yanusi, Armstrong and Sekou Mara complete the visitors lineup. So there's your team news here from King Power Stadium. Kickoff fast approaching at 3 o'clock.
Thank you very much, Niall. Again, we'll hear from you just before kick-off this afternoon, where you'll be on co-commentary duty with Jerry Taggart. Yes, welcome along to Matchday Live here on LCFC TV. Apologies for any technical difficulties that we have been having. Hopefully they're all sorted now. And good afternoon to the both of you. As we said, on co-commentary duty, and you're in the studio as well, Jerry. Good afternoon.
Absolutely. Yeah, feeling good. Feeling up for the challenge that you've put me under today.
Absolutely. And Matt, you're always up for the challenge, aren't you? Good afternoon to you.
Always, yeah. I'm looking forward to a double dose of Taggart. That's not something I'd say lightly, to be honest. But yeah, listen, big game, isn't it? Third of the season, second home game. Both sides 1 point so far. Both will be looking to extend that, because the fixture list as it is not the easiest, certainly for Leicester in the opening part of the campaign. So yeah, it's a big game today.
Yeah, we've got plenty coming up here on Matchday Live as we build up to kickoff, which is of course at 3 o'clock. As Niall mentioned in his team news there, Jamie Vardy has extended his contract. We'll talk all about him. We'll also take a look back at some classic goals against Southampton, including that very, very important header from Wes Morgan. We'll also hear from the Leicester manager, Brendan Rodgers. So plenty to get through here on Matchday Live. So before we go any further, guys, let's talk about Jamie Vardy. It was the big news this morning when it broke at 10 in the morning. Leicester fans, understandably, Matt, absolutely delighted that Jamie Vardy has signed this contract extension, and the party continues. Yeah,
exactly. I saw that bit of footage where Vardy was promoting or stating the fact that he'd signed that new contract, and music to everyone's ears, isn't it? Connected with Leicester City. I think obviously Jamie first and foremost, excellent for him to sort out his near and mid-term future. Keep himself settled. Obviously loves the club, such loyalty to the club, who've been loyal to him in return, and it's been such a fruitful partnership, hasn't it? Everyone knows the history, but also, as supporters, it all sort of helps steady any sort of fears a little bit, because there's certain rumours about this player and that player going to all different places, sorts of places, and Jamie Vardy being one of them has been mentioned. So I think it's a good sort of settling ingredient as well, isn't it, from the supporters' point of view? But at this moment of time, he's still looking pretty sharp, isn't he? He's easing his way into the season, But you feel that it's bound to click at some time for Jamie Vardy, and hopefully today will be the case.
Yeah, you wouldn't be surprised if he caps that contract extension off with a goal today. Get involved with us, by the way, here on Matchday Live using hashtag LCFC, as you can see at the bottom there. Tim says that he's an absolute legend. He knows what it means to wear the shirt. So let's hear then from the man himself, Jamie Vardy, speaking after signing that new deal. Jamie, congratulations on the new deal. It will keep you at the club until 2024. How are you feeling?
No, I'm obviously over the moon. Once I heard that it was something the club was looking at, I think there was only one thing that was going to happen, and I was going to sign it.
What went through your mind when you heard that news, and what sort of decisions went into the process of you deciding to stay?
I think the decisions are easy. I've obviously been here that long now that I feel part of the furniture, and it's been up and down ride the whole way, but I think you can see with the way we're trying to play and the way the club's wanting to go that it's going to be onwards and upwards. So to carry on being involved in that, I was, like I said, over the moon.
Albeit part of the furniture and still a fairly new training centre, and I'm sure that itself is part of your decision making to want to stay because of how amazing this facility is.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I still won't be able to tell you to this day where every single thing is in the new training ground. It's that big. It's literally world-class environment to train in, and that can give us the edge, obviously, when we're working on stuff for the games.
Yeah, how big of a factor is that, do you think, in helping push Leicester City to the next level, having a facility like this?
Yeah, it's massive. I mean, I remember when I first started, there was days that we couldn't train because of the weather or something, so to have this here, knowing that whenever we need to be working and getting the stuff done, then there's always that environment and the facilities to get it done.
How have you found the last couple of seasons? You know, an FA Cup winner, a Community Shield winner as well. There's been some really good European runs as well. I'm sure that gives you hunger again in your next couple of seasons to continue that.
Yeah, you want to keep winning things, but as for what you've just mentioned, they're in the past now. You have to put them on the back burner to think about it another time. You've got to concentrate on the here and now, and it's all about this season now and finishing as high as we can.
You clearly have an ambition to continue the legacy that you've already created in the Premier League.
Yeah, definitely. My legs and everything are still feeling great, so to carry that on, like I said, helping the club as much as I can, whether that's scoring or assisting, then that's what I'm here to do.
The word legend gets used a lot, doesn't it, Jerry, in football, but you can absolutely use it for Jamie Vardy and for his career at Leicester City.
Yeah, you know, it's testament. It feels like, you know, Jamie Vardy can virtually do what he wants now. You know what I mean? He's made such a contribution to this football club, and I think, you know, with him signing this new contract, it sort of shows everybody that even though with the amount of goals that he's scored and he's talked about goals and assists, but I think in the background as well, you know, it shows what a positive influence he has around the place, and you know, the younger players coming through to walk into this football club and to know that they've got someone of the stature of Jamie Vardy sitting next to you in the dressing room. You know, for the younger players especially, make the hair on the back of their neck stand up. So yeah, I think it's it's not a real coup as such, but I think it's a smart move by the club to try and, well, to keep him here until, you know, he basically decides to hang his boots up. But who knows when that will be, you know, because as Matt said, he's still looking pretty sharp at the minute.
Well, that's it. You never know. We could be sat here in a season's time, a season and a half, and he extends his contract again. You never know with Jamie Vardy, do you?
No, absolutely. And I think obviously he hasn't been on the score sheet so far this season, but I think everybody around here knows that that's just a matter of time. You know, he's going to score goals. He's far too good a player. It doesn't really matter about the age. For me, it's about keeping him fit and getting him onto the pitch. And what he brings to a game of football will take over from there. And so really that is the only issue that you have with the likes of Jamie Vardy, because of his age, is how fit can he stay over the longevity. But looking at the way he started the season, the contributions, even though he hasn't scored, he's still looking pretty sharp. So yeah, good business.
That full interview, by the way, with Jamie Vardy is available to watch on lcfc.com, and in that, Matty obviously talks about his love for Leicester City, wanting to continue that Premier League legacy, and also about how he's had to adapt his game and almost change his game since he came into the Premier League, albeit when he was 27. But he's had to change it a little bit. He's had to adapt. He's played under different managers.
Yeah, I think that's one of his biggest qualities. Obviously, we know about his searing pace and the runs that he makes and his finishing. The whole array of type of goals that he can score. But he's I've seen massive developments in his games. And that he mentions there. He not always in the style that Brendan Rodgers likes his teams to play, but certainly at periods he's been more involved in build-up play, etc. He has that ability. Played a lone striker role, playing a pair. He can play wide if necessary, which he has done on rare occasions, whatever. But he's much more rounded these days, and he wouldn't have stayed at the top for as long as he has if he wasn't able to do that. But talk about Leicester City legends. He's a Premier League legend, isn't he? When you think of certainly players over the last 20 years, at the very least, who stick in the mind or come to the fore. When you think about the top players, he's up there. He made his mark, hasn't he? And in fine style. Incredible what he's done in his time here at Leicester City. But hopefully for a little while yet. And we've been saying that for a few years now, haven't we? Actually, hopefully it will continue, and it has done. And hopefully that remains the case.
Yeah, an absolute Premier League legend, as Matt is saying, Jerry. He's in that elusive 100 club, isn't he, in terms of goals in the league. Perhaps one of his best is the Liverpool goal, would you say, at King Power Stadium?
Yeah, it's not my favourite Jamie Vardy goal, but there's loads of them. But it's a great strike, isn't it? Against obviously a very good team, and there was that link-up play as we've seen so many times. But yeah, it's a great strike.
Not a bad ball from Mahrez.
That's what I mean. There was that link-up play between Mahrez and Vardy again. Great strike. That
sort of typifies Jamie Vardy, doesn't it?
That would get you legend status alone. That goal.
Yeah, the audacity of trying that strike. You've got to be a certain character to do it, and Jamie Vardy has that character. To go up against a side like Liverpool. I was sat right behind it. I was fortunate enough in the stands there, and you're thinking, all right, Jamie, you're pushing it a little bit now, mate. I know you're in a hot streak, but oh wow, hang on a minute, he's got a chance, bang, and there it was at the back of the net, and the stadium just went up, didn't it? And the roar, as we spoke about last week on the show, the roar of amazement and appreciation went on for about 10 seconds. It was incredible atmosphere on that night as well, and that just set things alight, that strike.
A similar roar was probably when he scored his 11th as well, or his 11th consecutive goal against Manchester United, of course. Every Leicester fan remembers that one fondly.
Certainly do, and I want a point on the quiz for remembering who provided the assist as well. On the right-hand side, Christian Fuchs, very rare. What a ball from him, what a run, and a nice finish to boot, wasn't it? And the fact that was, the 11th consecutive goal in the consecutive games, the record, again, a Leicester City player, you can see the look on the lads' faces there, they almost can't believe it, can they? This has happened to a player from Leicester City. All the other players who've done it before are all massively high profile names. And Jamie Vardy comes and upsets the apple cart, doesn't he, as he loves to do so often.
Yeah, and as you said, Jerry, let's fast forward to the present day. He's yet to get off the mark this season. There's only been 2 games. But
absolutely.
He would have had a chance at a penalty at Arsenal last week, although VAR intervened and said that it wasn't. But as I've already said, today's the type of game he probably will score, because he's just signed the new deal. The headlines are surrounding him today. He'll go, hopefully, and cap that with at least 1 goal today. Yeah,
I think, when you look at his record, his goal-scoring record over the years, then, it's I was going to say it's pretty impressive, but it's not. It's madly impressive. And so, for Jamie Vardy to go through, I don't know if people are calling it a barren spell of 2 games.
For him it is.
But that is that's what people talk about when Jamie Vardy doesn't score for a couple of games. Is he going to go through a barren spell? but he's such a good player. He's, you know, you spoke about how he's readjusted his game as years go on, and all the best players do. You know, Ryan Giggs springs to mind when you talk about playing late into your 30s, and how he adjusted his career in doing so. And Jamie Vardy's doing exactly the same, and because he's got that game knowledge. Then it's not a difficult thing for him to do, and he still knows where the back of the net is. He still knows where to find space. He still knows how to make those runs, the timing of the runs. He hasn't lost any of his hunger, any of his desire. So that tells you straight away that goals are a foregone conclusion for him. It's as simple as that.
We've had a look at the teams today, Matt. Obviously, a little bit of a change in system for Leicester City. Will that suit Jamie Vardy, do you think, today? Whether it's a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1?
You would think so. You would think so. Leicester, it's easier for them to get more players in advanced areas with this system. You know, at times, sort of straight away, you've got 5 attack-minded players there, haven't you? Including the 2 advanced midfielders, up to the fullbacks to go and complement that really, as and when they see fit. But yeah, you know, with Barnes and Perez, they're more in touch with Vardy. But as Jerry, well, we've all mentioned it really, but Vardy, his involvement in the game is often these days less than perhaps maybe it used to be, but it's just as essential, isn't it? Because, you know, he's like the sort of finishing touch to hopefully good football behind and before. But if like he sort of conserves energy a little bit, doesn't he, and just stays in central areas rather than chasing here, there and everywhere like he had done in younger years. But he's got energy around him now as well. He's got the support of Dewsbury Hall from midfield. Maddison can create, so there's lots of avenues to create chances for him in this system today. And I think it's what Brendan Rodgers, it's his preferred way to go about things, dependent on personnel. But yeah, it's tailor-made for Jamie Vardy. I think he can play in a pair, whichever, like we've said before, but I think he's become accustomed to playing a lone role now, and he's quite happy doing so, picking up and applying the final touches at the end of a good move.
Are you pleased to see it going back to it? And it meant the Saints finished 15th in the Premier League for the 2nd season running. There's been a number of incomings at St Mary's during the summer, and Ralph Hasenhüttl was asked what's changed for Southampton since that defeat, in which he was disappointed with the referee.
Yeah, the difference is hopefully that we have in the first goal not with a decision of a referee and of the opponent. What I still must say that I cannot follow what happened there at that time. I mean, this was definitely decisive for this game, because until that moment we have been good in the game. And the end, we have a little bit of a different squad now. They, I think, have not signed one player so far. But they are still a team that is playing or has played a lot of competitive games also in international football. A side that is played for a top 10 ranking the last years all the time. So you see the quality they have in every position, and still a ground where we like to go, because we had also some good games there.
I would say they've made a taxing start to the season. In fact, Dan, I look at both clubs and their start is literally identical. A 2-2 draw at home and a 4-1 away defeat in North London. Obviously Leicester scored a couple of goals, but very similar starts, and Saints with a new formation have looked like a work in progress. I think that's probably the best way to say it. I've seen signs of improvement, but I would say they are trying something different this season, and it's taking a little time to get details right.
The issue for Ralph Hasenhüttl and his side in the last few campaigns has been the amount of goals conceded, and it's clearly something that he's looked at and tried to address during this closed season.
When you ship 67 goals, 68 goals, 60 goals in 3 seasons, you have to try and come out maybe with something different. I think when Southampton play well, as you know, in that 4-2-2-2 that he's been using for a long time, well before everyone started saying Ranić was using it, they'd never seen it before. Ralph's been using it a long time, and I think he thought maybe he needed a different approach to try and get the goals against down. So I understand where he was coming from. He wants to develop different ways of playing. and they've spent all pre-season with 3 at the back and a 5-man defence effectively. And of course, the idea of that is to ship less goals. And so, of course, when you go to Tottenham and give 4 up with 5 at the back, everyone's going, what's the point?
Thanks to Adam Blackmore there from BBC Radio Solent for that. He was referencing the amount.
Direct,
exactly. But he was talking about the goals conceded in the last few seasons. That's clearly been the issue. They've gone to a back 3 or a back 5, as he's saying there. Today it looks as if it's a back 4 again, and matching up against Leicester. So it'll be interesting really to see what happens, and if either manager maybe blinks first at half time or at 60 minutes and changes the system again. It'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, well, they're a bit of a funny side, aren't they, Southampton? As Adam was referring to there, you're sort of never quite sure what you're going to get. If they play well, as he mentioned, but that's the case with any team in the Premier League. When they get it right, they're capable. But it's how often you get it right, and that's whichever system you play. It certainly seems the case at Southampton. It's more to do with like the level of quality of individuals that they've got there, all capable, performing at certain times, but doing it consistently is the crux of the matter, and they're not able to do that, are they? But by hook or by crook, Hasenhüttl was, kept them in the league, and at times it looked doubtful, and his reputation goes up and down as well, doesn't it? 1 minute they're thinking, how can this manager be in charge of a team that lose 9-0 twice in, was it one season or in successive seasons? Successive seasons, and then the next minute they're advocating him to be, going on to a big club, and because they've turned things round, and it just seems to be the continual pattern for Southampton a little bit. But I suppose all things considered, they're doing well. They're still in the Premier League.
Yeah, what do you make of Southampton, Jerry? What do you think they'll bring today to King Power Stadium?
Again, who knows? Obviously, last week coming from 2-0 down, to get a 2-2 draw will give them a little bit of confidence going into today's game. But again, they've shipped 6 goals in 2 games, similar to Leicester, and they've scored 3. Leicester have scored 4. So who knows what's going to happen today? But they are a very, very Leicester predominantly are the more consistent side, the better side. Apparently finish higher in the league than Southampton. We all know that, but as we've just heard, that very, very similar starts. So it'll be interesting to see how they cope. Will a change of formation that Leicester have brought to the table? But I agree with Matt. At the end of the day, it's down to the performance levels on any given day. We can sit here and talk about formation changes and new stuff, but it's basically down really to how the players perform on the day and whether they're up for it or not. And that is the main crux of any game of football is, do you want to win today? Are you ready to go to war for me today? And I think that's where predominantly teams like Southampton have their issues.
There was technically nothing riding on it, that the last game of last season, but for Leicester, that win ensured an 8th place finish in the Premier League, and they were good on the day, weren't they, the Foxes?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, a good end to what had been a very up and down season. Let's face it. Obviously one of the highlights was getting to the semi-finals of the Europa Conference League. One of the downsides was the amount of goals conceded from set pieces. And hopefully, that's going to be rectified somewhat this season. So yeah, I think overall finishing 8th, and obviously the amount of injuries that the club had as well last season didn't help in any way, shape or form. So to finish 8th, I think was a good finish. I know there was a lot of whinging and moaning by some quarters, but I think, getting to the semi-final, being put out by a very good Roma team, and then
who went on to win it?
Who went on to win it, obviously, and then and obviously finishing 8th. I think that was no mean feat whatsoever.
Well, let's take a look back then at some classic goals that have been scored against Southampton.
Lennon, Heskey, nice turn. Heskey draws away from Venez's challenge. What a goal! Oh! That's the goal of the season, it's got to be! A super strike from Emil Heskey, and Leicester City leads Southampton by 2-0. Mahrez, away from Reed,
And Davis, superbly played. What a magnificent goal! Oh, it doesn't get much better than that. Riyad Mahrez with his first goal in 2015, bypassing two midfielders and placing the shot in the bottom corner to perfection. Riyad Mahrez, total for Vardy, he's in here, he's scored again! Jamie Vardy, he's on fire! Never write Leicester off, they come from behind again, and in stoppage time, Jamie Vardy makes it 2-2, what a comeback!
Brooks again, it's towards Morgan! The captain plays his role. What a time to score your first of the season. A buccaneering header puts Leicester in front.
Only picked out Mahrez. Vardy. Okazaki alongside. Wonderful finish. Fantastic finish by Shinji Okazaki. His second of the evening and Leicester's fourth. One misplaced pass and Southampton punished again.
James Maddison is stood poised in the St Mary's reign, and I think he will strike it. Here goes Maddison! Oh, there's magic in that right boot. What a goal. James Maddison lights up a very special Leicester performance with a cracking goal.
Yeah, some classic goals there against Southampton. Some very good memories as well from all of those seasons, and fantastic to see an Emile Heskey goal make it as well. Let's hear though from Brendan Rodgers. Then he's been speaking, of course, ahead of this game.
It's very important. It was the same as after the last game. I said afterwards it was a mixed bag with some good moments in the game. Where Arsenal could have went in front in the opening 5 minutes, but didn't. And then I think the timing of the goals really hurt us last week. There's no doubt Arsenal deserved to win, but we could have made it a much closer scoreline and made them a little bit more nervous than we did. So we have to come away, learn from that, got to manage the game better, look to not make mistakes in the games, knowing that we can score goals.
Just picking up on that point James Justin said about game management and talked about perhaps being a bit more cute, I suppose, having a bit more devilment in games. Is that something that can be worked on, has been worked on?
Well, there's that, and there's also managing the ball. If you the last goal came from us giving away the football, and it's something that with the team it's a constant message. We don't always have to put the ball at risk. You don't always have to finish the action on the first attack. So that's just something that when I talk about experience of players, that conserving the ball in the right moments is about having game experience. So that's something that we can definitely do better, and that's part of managing the game.
James Maddison obviously likes to put the ball at risk and is having a brilliant time of it at the moment. Just looks like he's brimming with confidence, and again, just touching on what James said to us, he actually thinks he's got another level in him, which is quite scary.
Yeah, he's continued on really from where he was at the end of last season. Over the course of pre-season, he looks strong, looks dynamic, and he's created a goal and scored a goal already this season. So now he's a wonderful player, and like I said, he plays the game with the personality and the charisma that you want. It doesn't matter what stadium he goes into. He goes and he can play at the very highest level, and thankfully his game's at that level.
What sort of personality do you want to see from your team this weekend back in front of you? Fans, Southampton, and the opponents, what do you want to see?
Yeah, well I want to see us back playing with that intensity and that aggression and that pressure that has defined us. That's something that when we've been very, very good, that's our game. So we'll be judged this year on that, on our intensity and how we play and the aggression. And if we can play to that level, then we've shown that we can get good results consistently.
And just finally from me, you said ahead of Arsenal they'd gone a bit of a level this season. What do you make of Southampton and the challenge that they offer you?
Yeah, it's always a difficult game against Southampton. We had a good scoreline at the end of last season, but again they made some new signings and freshness in the squad. Obviously, they showed their spirit last week when they came back from being behind at home. So no, we'll expect a tough game, but the onus is on us. We played 60 odd minutes of our last home game to a good level, and then end up giving away the points. So 2 weeks further on, we want to show that improvement. We want to play with the same quality and intensity, but manage the game and hopefully take 3 points.
That was Brendan Rodgers there, speaking to the media this week ahead of this game, and he doesn't say it, but he knows how big of a game it is this afternoon.
Yeah, I think so. With the games that are coming up, none are straightforward in the Premier League, are they? As Leicester have seen, you can look at the fixtures and go through what you believe will be the result, but very rarely proves to be the case, does it? And that there are surprises and bumps along the way, aren't there? And Leicester have had their fair share already in the first 2 games of the season. So you come up today, you're not thinking it's a foregone conclusion by any stretch of the imagination. Jerry mentioned it earlier. Law of averages over 10 games, Leicester will probably win the majority, or certainly come out with a more positive sequence of results. But in a one-off, don't know. And there's a lot riding on today's game, even at this juncture of the season, and that same goes for both sides really. Southampton need to pick their season up, and you certainly feel that Leicester do. They need 3 points just to be that little tonic to spur them on going forwards.
You'd think the news of Jamie Vardy's new contract this morning, Jerry, will buoy the crowd a little bit as well today, and they should hopefully come really raring to go.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned it's a massive game for both clubs. I'm not saying both clubs can't afford to lose this game, but with everything else and how the season's gone and everything else is bubbling around at the minute, for Leicester in particular, to get off the mark with 3 points, a home win in front of the fans, Jamie Vardy signing that contract extension will do everybody the world of good, including me and Matt. So yeah, it's a massive game. It really is, because we're probably finding ourselves in a situation we've not been in for a while, as far as the amount of points. I know we're only 2 games in, but you can't beat that winning feeling. And the longer it goes without getting off the mark, that sinking feeling keeps coming in more and more and more. So it's vitally, vitally important. It's a good game for Leicester today. I firmly believe that. It's a good game to get off the mark.
Hopefully so. All I want from you both is just a score prediction, please, starting with you,
Jerry. 2-0 for me to Leicester.
Yep. Tempted to go similar. Leicester 2-0 up. Southampton nick a late one just to make it a little bit uneasy in the last few minutes. 2-1. 2-1.
Okay, well, hopefully, either one of you being correct would be absolutely fine to get the 3 points, of course. It was 3 points last time these two sides faced each other. It was just a couple of months ago, wasn't it, the final game of last season, so a repeat of that will be fantastic today. We've got the full game coming up next here on Matchday Live.
Because memories never fade, no matter how long. We'll still remember the moments of excitement and the impressions of Thailand. Amazing Thailand, now even more amazing.
Lamia is the belief that perfection lies within the details, where the finest ingredients deserve the finest craftsmanship. In every pursuit of perfection, there is passion and perseverance. Where attention to detail inspires a masterpiece that's balanced and in harmony. This is the Vermeer philosophy, brewed into every drop of Chang beer. This is the taste of Thai perfection. Chang beer. We brew friendship.
Matchday. It doesn't start when the whistle blows. It starts with the lucky pair and the lucky party. It starts with making room for the real special one. And with choosing who's on for 2 goals today. It starts with picking up your mate and everyone he lives with. It starts with the usual in the usual coffee house. Oh, and almost ends there. Don't want to leave those behind, eh? It starts with the walking, with the talking, and with that first glance of home. It starts with the next big thing. No, the next big thing. And maybe with a little nap for the tired one. It starts with a quick flick straight to the same player every week. With a quick tap on the way in, with a quick polish of a friend, and with a quick dash for the pies. It starts with finding a seat, with a deep breath of expectation, and with one last check. Here's to the highs, and to grabbing your share. FBS, always by your side.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to King Power Stadium, where Southampton are the visitors here, as Leicester City look to get their Premier League season underway with a win. 2 games so far has yielded a draw and a defeat, but no better place than to try and get things rolling than here on Filbert Way. As Southampton arrive from the South Coast also in search of their first victory of the new Premier League season. So many similarities between these two sides, so many moments over the years. You think of that 9-0, you think of Wes Morgan's header, even Claude Puel, you can draw a link there as well between the two clubs. But both sides want the same thing this afternoon, and that is 3 points. As Leicester City are looking to really begin the Premier League season with momentum. Having shown flashes against Arsenal and against Brentford as well, just hasn't quite come off yet for Brendan Rodgers' side. Similarly for Southampton, who were 2-0 down last week against Leeds United at St Mary's and managed to pull it back to 2-2. They also ended up being beaten in North London, albeit by Spurs. So only 3 games in. A good chance, a good opportunity for Leicester to try and scoop that first 3 points of the new season. Pitch is looking fabulous down in front of us here at King Power Stadium. The sprinklers are on, the sun is out, a few clouds around, but a perfect afternoon for football, you'd have to suggest. And some good news from a Leicester City perspective is that Harvey Barnes is back in and amongst it, one of 2 changes from that defeat to Arsenal. Jose Perez comes in as well on the other side, someone who's made a decent knack of scoring against Southampton. Scored twice in the last time the two sides met here on Filbert Way. It was only a couple of months ago, final game of last season. And there's plenty of positives to take from that game. Leicester not yet really driving them into the new season, but this afternoon a perfect opportunity to do just that. And alongside me in the commentary box this afternoon is Leicester City legend Gerry Taggart, and it's something we've discussed all in the pre-match build-up, Gerry. Southampton have looked frail at times this season, but they've also shown flashes of inspiration, similarly for Leicester City, but with it being a home game, it's a great opportunity to get that first win of the Premier League season.
Yeah, I think it's a good game. It's a good game for Leicester today. You know, you look at the results, okay, Southampton coming back from 2-0 down against Leeds probably gives them a bit more confidence than Leicester losing a 2-goal lead against Brentford here at home. And then obviously Leicester going and backing that up with another defeat at Arsenal. So not great reading, you have to say, but I think, you know, we've already discussed it, the consistency, the talent that's on show today. You know, the fact that Harvey Barnes is on the pitch means that Brendan Rodgers then can change his formation to the preferred way he likes to play, and that in itself should give the players a little bit more confidence and self-belief in what they're doing on the pitch today.
Yeah, you're right about Harvey Barnes. Gives Leicester City a bit of a different option and allows Brendan Rodgers to try and be a little bit more flexible tactically. Him being injured for the first two games will have been a blow for Leicester City. We know how valuable he is to this side, Gerry, so to have him back, as you mentioned, is a big benefit.
Yeah, it automatically widens the pitch for Leicester. Whereas, you know, in the two previous games, you were solely relying on both the wing backs to provide width. Now you've got four players, two on the other side of the pitch, who are capable of providing width and numbers in attacking areas. So straight away you've got, at any given time during the game, you've got the prospect of having 7 attackers on the pitch, which wasn't the case in the previous two games. So straight away that's got to be a positive.
Jamie Vardy as well signed a new contract, revealed this morning, 10 o'clock on the dot, and he'll be here until 2024. And the message was, the party continues. Let's hope the party starts for Jamie for the season today.
Yeah, and again, you know, we spoke about it in the pre-match build-up. I actually think Jamie prefers to play up front on his own and have the likes of, you know, your Madisons, Dewsbury Halls, Barnes and Perez supporting him and getting in the box. So the support today, as always when you're a lone striker, the support play is absolutely vital, but it's a style that suits Maddison. It sort of takes away a little bit of that defensive responsibility from him, and he can concentrate a little bit more in making sure that he's up with speed of play and he's in the danger zone when he needs to be. So yeah, this formation affords the likes of James Maddison to concentrate more on playing his attacking role today for the team.
Well, James Maddison in the midfield along with Kiernan Dewsbury Hall. And Jamie Vardy just so good at making those runs in behind, isn't he? Made a career of doing it, probably one of the best ever in the Premier League at doing that. And there's still 2 more years to come of Jamie Vardy in Leicester City colours. And along with his Foxes teammates, he is lined up in the tunnel currently. And along with the Southampton players who are standing patiently in the tunnel, captained by James Ward-Prowse. And Johnny Evans, Leicester City captain, stands patiently in the tunnel as Kasabian rings around here at King Power Stadium. It's not an easy place to come and win in the Premier League, King Power Stadium, at least it hasn't been in recent times. Foxes and Brendan Rodgers will be hoping for that trait to continue here this afternoon as we tick towards kickoff on Filbert Way. This week the Premier League has been celebrating its 30th anniversary. 30 years of drama and entertainment, delight and dismay, agony and ecstasy. But perhaps there's no greater achievement in those 3 decades than Leicester City winning the Premier League title. In that time frame, there have been so many memorable moments, both weird and wonderful. And when you think of Leicester City against Southampton, a game which was indeed fitting of those criteria in October 2019 at St Mary's, always springs to mind. But the landscape is different today. Both sides here this afternoon searching for a first league win of the season, having drawn one and lost one today. The Foxes do have the upper hand on Saints on home soil. Can they turn that into 3 points on Filbert Way this afternoon? Kelechi Iheanacho at Wembley. Wes Morgan's header. The 9-0 victory in 2019. Clashes between Saints and Leicester have always been lively. What have we got in store this afternoon on Filbert Way? Well, let's take a look at the team news then and see who Brendan Rodgers has selected to start this afternoon's match. 2 changes from the Arsenal defeat as Fofana and Tielemans drop out. In come Harvey Barnes and Iose Perez. In full, your Leicester side is Danny Ward in goal, Castagna, Evans, Amate and Justin across the back line. Ndidi, Dewsbury Hall and Maddison in the midfield, with Harvey Barnes and Iose Perez either side of Jamie Vardy, who will be staying at Leicester City until 2024. On the bench for Leicester, Soyuncu, Tielemans, Albrighton, Iheanacho, Daka, Mendy, Pratt, Everson and Thomas. For the visitors, Southampton, Ralph Hasenhüttl has named 3 changes from their 2-2 draw at home to Leeds last week. They were 2-0 down in that game and came back to draw. Out go Jan Bednarek, Stuart Armstrong and Che Adams, replaced by Adam Armstrong, Joe Aribo and Sekou Mara. Aribo and Mara both involved in that Southampton comeback against Leeds last week. Here's the Southampton side then. Gavin Bazunu in goal, Djenepo, Salisu, Bella Kochap and Walker Peters in the defence. Ward-Prowse, Slavia, Aribu, El Yanusi, Armstrong and Mara complete the Southampton side. McCarthy, Lyanco, Romeo, Adams, Armstrong, Diallo, Walcott, Bednarek and Valerie are the Southampton substitutes. And they are almost ready to get underway here on Filbert Way. As the 2 captains stand either side of the match officials. Today's referee is Michael Salisbury, who will be assisted by Neil Davies and Natalie Aspinall. And the VAR official for this afternoon's Premier League fixture is Michael Oliver. Well, Southampton have made an unwanted habit of conceding too many Premier League goals. That 9-0 will always be brought up in conversation when these two sides meet, but 67 goals, 68 goals and 60 goals with what they have conceded in the last 3 top-flight seasons. Leicester City will be hoping they can take advantage of that in the early stages of this new campaign. Southampton with the white shirts with a red vertical stripe down the centre, the white shorts and the white socks with a red hoop. Leicester City in those famous blue colours, blue shirts, blue shorts and blue socks. As Kun Top watches on from the crowd, as do around 30,000 others, as we await the first whistle of the referee here, Michael Salisbury, to get us underway. Off we go then. Southampton, the latest obstacle for Leicester.